Purdue as Mitchell looks for an answer.
Ooh, pure, nothing but net.
Garland to the basket, stole the inbound pass. He lays it in.
Basketball down there.
Very high percentage shot for him from that spot. Merrill for three. Tristan Thompson on the floor. Diaz for three. That's short. Hard rebound. Ricochets out to Merrill for three again.
For the We Like Sportz show, tune in and see the latest the crew has to say regarding the latest sports topics nationally and locally. Make sure to check out our website as well, WeLikeSportsPC.com. Subscribe on all platforms, including podcast platforms, YouTube, TikTok, and much more. And be sure to follow us on X at We Like Sportz PC.
Started with Anderson and Ramirez.
He said, let's go, right? Yeah, I'm sure he wants the game to start, but they won't let it. And rightfully so.
And welcome to the We Like Sportz show. I'm your host, Ed in Columbus, with my guy, Vince. You know, we thought of doing a great, huge show. So we got a guy from Las Vegas, of all places, because they like to do it big out there. We got Vince in here, a big fight fan, Giants fan, Raiders fan. So, yeah, we're going to talk about it all today, but we got to first start with NBA free agency. My Cleveland Cavaliers finally did something. Got Donovan Mitchell signed, 3-year deal, max deal with a player option for a 4th year. So glad to see they're actually got a pulse in Cleveland and getting it done that way. They're going to have to do that, Vince, because the NBA Eastern Conference, as you know, has gotten a lot stronger over these past couple of days. Paul George with the Sixers and the New York Knicks, they're not content with just doing nothing. They're making moves as well. So what do you see the landscape of the NBA Eastern Conference right now? And do my Cleveland Cavaliers, are they contenders, or they're just kind of treading water right now?
Well, so I'm going to be honest. I think a lot of people are looking at the 76ers right now and thinking they're the one or the two. Yeah. I disagree. I love Paul George. I think he's awesome. Him and Maxey are going to be phenomenal together. But he had a Kawhi and a Harden. Didn't work there either. Embiid doesn't scare me anymore. I've been in the East long enough to know he's only going to play 40 games.
That's true.
You know what I mean? So I'm not worried about that guy. We're getting to the playoffs. The Knicks are going there. Cleveland's getting there. I see, honestly, the 1, 2, and 3 in any specific order, depending on how the season plays out, as Boston, New York, and Cleveland.
Wow.
That I see as the top 3 in the East right now. That's just me. But I think that the Cleveland move, what was huge about that, I don't know if you know this part, but I was just reading up on it, and it says that this will actually allow him to satisfy a 10-year service criteria for the NBA, which would allow him to pursue a 5-year extension worth more than $380 million with them.
Wow.
So that could be huge for them to just strap him in for the long haul, you know what I mean, and just build around him. I think that's a great move for Cleveland, to be perfectly honest, and I think that they're a huge threat.
Well, I'm not going to lie. Every time I see an extension, and maybe this goes back to my LeBron days in Cleveland, is, he never signed that 5-year deal. It was always a 3-year. And then, so when I initially saw the 3-year deal, I'm like, oh, what, once again, it seems like, he's not fully in, but then, you read about that 10-year thing and everything. And it's just like, I think he's just being like LeBron was. Yeah, exactly. It's more or less, he's just playing the game that the NBA system and free agency has allowed him to do to maximize his potential value. And you can't fault the brother for doing that, because at the end of the day, it's all about his dollars.
It's unfortunate. I mean, I'm just old enough to remember how it's changed over the years. And, as a New York fan, I mean, our core just solidified itself and really showed what they could be. And then Isaiah turned around and
I was going to ask you. Okay, so yes, Isaiah Hartenstein, obviously, to the Thunder, 3 years. What is it? $87 million. Big blow to the New York Knicks, but they've made some other moves. How do you think that's going to play out, and do you think they can absorb the loss of that?
Here's how I think it looks for the West. I think that it makes the Thunder that much more dangerous because, like, I already know that guy can be the rock, as a big man for a team. I saw him do it. He stepped up big time in the absence of Robinson, and I know he's going to be a huge piece to that team. He's going to become an integral part quickly. So in the West, I think he's going to become a huge threat. I think that team just becomes that much more dangerous. In the East, this is where that 1, 2, 3 positioning comes from. We've already that the Knicks are smart enough and savvy enough to move and work without Mitchell always in there. But if Robinson's healthy, he's just a really solid, stout big man. And so, like, if he's healthy, we can play anybody. If he's not, then we may end up on the bubble, But I think we'll still be in that top group, assuming the rest of the Nova Knicks are healthy.
Nova Knicks. Well, from it sounds like to me, from what you're saying, is with your 1, 2, 3, where you got Boston, New York, and Cleveland. From what you're saying to me is, if Cleveland and New York could just stay healthy, because they can't do what Boston does. Boston has so many great players or whatever. They can take 1 or 2 hits and still be okay. Where Cleveland and New York they're not there yet. So you're telling me that if Cleveland, New York, they stay healthy next year, that's going to be some good competition in the East then with Boston.
I mean, think about the way the second half of the season played out. These teams were both, in and out of injury, and they fought. They went from the 6, 7 seed to a 3 and 4 seed. Ultimately what, a 2, and I think Cleveland was the 3 this year, right? Or did they? Was Cleveland?
They played and then they fell. But essentially they could have won their last game of the year, won the division, but they decided that they wanted to play Orlando instead of
And that makes sense sometimes, But you already saw the measure of what these teams have. Now they're just solidifying. So like some guys who didn't know, like, hey, like I have a contract issue coming up this year. Okay, I've got a few years here. Like, let me really dig in now. Like, I think it just changes the mentality on the team, and we'll see what else they do in the coming weeks. But I think like Cleveland to me is the biggest threat. Like, everyone's going to say the Knicks. Everyone's going to say Boston. Everyone's going to say Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Outside of that, I think that Cleveland is that next team. And then like the bubble, besides like out of that group, probably the Orlando Magic. Ben Charo is really, he's good, man. He's working his way to top levels quickly. So it's going to be an exciting year this year for sure.
Now, I want your honest answer as a Knicks fan, and I know Donovan Mitchell has, New York ties and everything, but Jalen Brunson or Donovan Mitchell, if you swapped them out, are the Knicks that much better?
I
know Jalen's your guy, and I get that, and I understand that he's a dog and the things that he can do, but do you think that Mitchell maybe has that just a little bit more pure talent? And
the answer is the Knicks are not better.
Okay.
The Knicks are not better is because, like I just said, that core, that Nova Knicks, what Brunson can get from Dante, from Hart, what he can get from those guys, Donnie's not going to be able to get that from them.
Okay.
Different connection there. So I think because of what the whole core is, if they before building this, different. But now that core is there, you have those 3, and now we just added that 4th piece with Mikal Bridges. I'm very content with where we are right now, and I'm glad we went that route, to be honest. I think.
So how does that work right now? So you got New York City, you got the 5 boroughs, but so is Nova in Philadelphia? Is that now a borough of New York City? Is that how that works now? Have you annexed some piece of Philadelphia? And I'm sure that's got to drive those fans crazy.
I think really like there's definitely so my group of friends, like our college group, where there are 5 New York fans and 5 Philadelphia fans, half and half.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And half that group, they're just like when we lost Saquon, to them, it was like, this guy could have stayed in this city. Why? Like, they didn't understand why Philadelphia didn't draft him.
Yeah, that's true.
That's what Philly's problem was. You let Dallas take him to begin with, and then you didn't go and get him when Dallas wanted to play ball and move him around. So like that's where like most of the Philly fans I know, they kind of just look at it like, why didn't you guys do it? And I think that he would have been a huge piece to that team as well. Having him and Maxey on the same team, danger. That's danger. So.
Yeah, I'm like I said, I'm a big, obviously being a Browns fan as well. I'm a big AFC North fan when it comes to what's the best division right now and the toughest in football. But I'll tell you what, when it comes to the shit talking per se of fancy, that not the NFC East is got to be you got Philly fan, you got New York. Now Washington, they've kind of taken, maybe they're going to build themselves up, but that's a fun division to see you guys go at it with each other. I can't lie.
So what me and my buddies do, we do an annual event, basically, like, because everyone's got families, lives everywhere else. And so 1 year we'll be at Lincoln Financial, 1 year we'll be at MetLife, and so. The last one at MetLife, it was a raining game, and the Giants got beat by this was 2 seasons ago. We got beat by 6 touchdowns. There was there's always going to be a lot of Philly and New York fans at each other because we're right there. The way that I was getting harassed in my own stadium by Eagles fans, you would have thought I was at an away game. You would have thought I was at an away game. It's different, for sure. And I don't know if fans know this, but in Lincoln Financial, there's actually a jail in the downstairs. Yeah, so they can arrest people in there for the craziness because it goes down in that place.
Yeah.
Right down there, get them ticketed, and get them along from there. It's kind of great.
Fly, Eagles, fly, but maybe you're going to go to the coop for a little bit. That's what they do. Well, that's
special, though. I think the AFC North is now that division there. It's got to be the toughest division in football, I think, right now. I mean, we don't know what we're going to get from the Browns necessarily because of, some movement team. I wish Flacco was back. I do. But I mean, that defense is stout, and so if they can play their regular game, I mean, they make them a contender automatically. I mean, the story with the Birds over there, Lamar and those guys. I just don't think Lamar's winning a Super Bowl anytime soon. That's just me.
Yeah, I know what you're saying with that. I think he's one of those regular season players, but there's just something about the playoffs that I don't know. Maybe his and I'm not going to be those Lamar haters and say that he can't throw in this or that and he's just a glorified running back. I don't think that's the case. It's just something about the Ravens offense when the playoffs come, they just kind of become a shell, and it's just you got to pass your way out of that, and they haven't showed that they could do that yet in the playoffs. So.
I think it's going to be a coaching thing more than anything because they have a great head coach, obviously. They have a great set of coaches, but the team has to shift gears. They're a very run-heavy offense with a quarterback who does have a strong arm. And what they got to shift gears more into that passing game as they get to the playoffs because, that's going to win you. That's going to win Super Bowls.
I agree. I agree. Like I said, it's funny how things work out. We talk NBA free agency, and then we go straight into football. That the NFL knows what they're doing. I'm telling you, they always know what they're doing, and it just always kind of gravitates towards that.
All year long, baby.
All year long. But well, I guess we'll circle back to round ball because, like I said, when you name a show NBA free agency, frenzy, you kind of have to talk about it. But believe me, we'll hit plenty of football. Like I said, I want to hit some fight too. But, what do you think about Klay Thompson going to the Mavericks? What's your thoughts on that one? Because that's, like I said, I mean, Kyrie Irving, like I said, Cleveland legend, obviously for hitting the shot over Golden State. Him and Luka, obviously, doing their thing, having that third big guy. But Klay Thompson isn't what he was, obviously. He's older now. But we'll see what do you think that does for the Mavericks? Does that elevate them or just kind of keep them on par with what they really kind of are already?
Here's the thing, right? And so this is what you have to look at. They rolled straight through everything, right? And then they got to the finals and they just got smoked. Does play at a piece that is going to elevate you against that specific competition. What does Klay do on the court that is going to elevate them to a 7-game series against the Boston Celtics in this last month? Nothing. I just don't, I don't see it. No disrespect to Klay. He had
no.
And, the guy did his thing. I don't, for what they're doing and the way that team is built.
Yeah.
I don't see that he adds anything. No defense.
He's
He's not the right fit. to be perfectly honest.
No, but one of these things about the NBA, I think some of these teams, they get, they see the names and whatever, some of these owners, I think they become fans, and they instead of maybe letting their GMs kind of do their job, and maybe, I don't know, they'll sell jerseys, I guess. I don't know if nothing else, and win regular season games. But to your point, I don't think it elevates them in their quest for a championship by any means. So
that's the thing. I mean, the team has to do something, but it has to be defensively, right?
Yeah, right.
The first thing you have to do is go get the best defender available on the board for the NBA,
right.
Because you got cooked every play. It wasn't by one player. No. It was by two players, by sometimes three, sometimes a guy off the bench. I mean, they did it. 2 years ago, everyone was like, the East cannot compete with the West.
Yeah.
They just rolled through the West, and then they got cooked by the East. And that was bad. It wasn't even an enjoyable series,
No.
I wanted a game 7. I wanted just.
I think as fans, I think that's the best 2 words in all of sports is game 7. And, I'm looking at Minnesota. I'm looking at Denver, obviously still. And I think they would have given Boston a better series because they're more complete teams. I think the problem with the Mavericks are you had 2 players get really hot, just but they didn't have much else. And then you get them in the finals against a complete team like Boston, and then you see what happens.
Yeah. And that's the thing is they're Kyrie and Luka are both amazing talents, but when they get hot, it's like spotty short. Yes. It's a quick burst. It's not like we don't have to throw everything back to Jordan, right? But okay, when Jordan dialed into the playoffs, it was the same play for 16 games.
Yeah.
There was no up and down.
No, it was right.
Playoff mode.
Yep.
And so we saw and Luka scored all these points, but when it counted, what were you? Those 50-point, 60-point Luka performances would have put the team over. 38 points is not going to win you the championship when you don't have a team putting up those points around you. You have to do the same thing you did all season.
Well, that's what I was saying. I was saying that too during the NBA finals. I was like, Luka needs to put up, 45, 50 points. And he was putting up those 30. And which is great if you're getting 30 from Kyrie as well, but you weren't getting that. And it's just you're going to have to go, off kind of like LeBron did, his 2015, 2016 games. And then he got help with Kyrie. But Luka can't do it all by himself. It's proven.
It's too difficult. The team, they're a good team. They're a very good team. I fully expect to see them in the playoffs again next year. I think personally, if Denver has the time to make certain adjustments in the offense, I think Denver is still the 1 seed in the West.
Yeah.
That's me. I think they need to go back to okay, we know what messed up. We know where the injuries were, but more importantly, we know what now is coming to the table from these other teams. And I think they can make the adjustments.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, though. I still think Minnesota's my team when it comes to fun factor. They're young, and but they got some issues as well. If you're the GM of Minnesota, what are you looking for them just to grow another year, or do you think that there's something that they're missing from that team?
Honestly, I think that there's just a maturity factor.
Okay, that's kind of what I was going with, but yeah.
Those guys are super young. I'd be a young dad to some of them, but I could be some of those guys probably, and so they're super young. They're super talented. Ant doesn't fully appreciate what his own level is yet. I don't think. I
agree with that.
I think that the way that he talked about in the media about other people appreciating LeBron, right? I think he doesn't appreciate what his talent is yet, the way that everyone else is watching it, and so I think that he's got to become a little more selfish.
I agree with that.
A little more selfish in the playoffs for sure. But I think that team is solid. 2 years, I think they're the best team in the West.
Wow. So what do you think, Ants? What do you see as a player trajectory? Do you think he's a better Dominique that never gets injured? Is he a Michael? Is he what kind of player do you think he's going to be? Because I still don't think I know when I watch him sometimes what exactly he's going to be. Is he going to be a Giannis? Is he going to be what exactly do you see him as being?
I think when he's there, once he gets to where he's going, I think that, he will have that level of Michael excitement to a game. more that style of play than Dominique, I think.
Okay.
Giannis for sure. Giannis is just a fucking goon. Pardon me.
No,
but,
don't worry.
It's just different. He's like LeBron. He's so big and muscular, like that's just a different thing. Their physicality is like, he's not necessarily just like that player. But he could really be that guy, I hate to do that. Like, I don't think it's fair to these guys to say like, oh, he's the next Jordan. That's
right. But for our audience, we have to do that. I mean, that's what.
But I was gonna say, like, to me, that's the closest comparison, like what you see on the court.
Okay.
I don't know that he's gonna win 6 titles.
No, we're not right. But
I do. Like, I believe that he will bring that team to a title.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, Karl Anthony Towns, he needs to. What was up with him last year? Is he just not right? Is there something? Is he just never going to be that player that we thought he was going to be, or do you think he's just finding his role within all these talented players? Because now he's got a talented team. He didn't always have that. Obviously, now he's got superstars all around him now, kind of, and is it just him just adjusting, or maybe he needs to be more selfish with his play.
That's the thing is, like, he can be a bully. Like, I've seen him do it, but he's still a little softer than he should be.
He's passive.
To accept that role, like, he's big enough. He's got the look. He looks like me. He like take on the identity that, like, own it. Be that big bad guy next to Ant that everyone knows, like, right? Be that guy so everyone knows Ant gets touched, then they deal with this guy.
Right.
That big man on the court. There's no reason to do anything else. If that's going to be the nucleus of this team,
right.
Like, this is my role, and he's got to be a dominant guy like that.
And that's kind of what I thought. I just felt like he went MIA a little bit. And
he was really soft in the playoffs. He was more of a touch, trying to take outside shots, and he has a good outside shot. He does.
He does.
But, like, you sometimes you got to be physical. Like Joker.
Yeah.
He's got a great outside touch, but he also knows that sometimes he just has to go be that immovable object.
Right.
When he's there, that's it.
Yeah. I'm gonna put it in this way.
Exactly. You hear other, like, the West should be talking about, like, and they're probably having this conversation too. Like, is this guy going to be that next? Like, is this guy going to be our problem? Like, what do you think? Because they're deciding now in this period of free agency, do they need to adjust for Towns also, or just everything?
Right, exactly. Because when you're making your team, you're looking at the teams ahead of you and like, okay, I don't have the personnel, so I'm going to go out and get this guy. Do we feel like he's going to be a factor in years to come that might be impeding us from going for a championship? So,
exactly. Like, a team could waste an entire pick or an entire trade on an unnecessary big man because they think they're going to with him.
That hurts me, because here's why. When you said that a team wastes an unnecessary big man, it harkens back to the Cleveland Cavaliers of 2010 when they went for Shaq because they felt like they were going to go and play Orlando again, but it wasn't Orlando. It was, you know what I'm saying? It's like kind of like in that the moves that you make in the offseason because of where you're going. So that's a great point right there.
That's like, right. So just say that if he doesn't grow into that role, ultimately Minnesota has to trade him because he needs to be that guy, right? And so all those West teams now start to adjust. Except obviously the Nuggets, they're already adjusted.
Right.
Need to go get a big man. They're fine. But somebody goes to get that answer to Towns, right? And then Towns gets traded to the East, and he's like a Miami jersey. And now you're playing a whole different scenario than you just wasted, and you've got this guy for 6 years, or some amount of time. So.
What do you think about Chris Paul to the Spurs? Do you think that helps Wemby out? Obviously he's a veteran. He's I'm saying he's older. We're not talking about the Spurs being a championship contender, but I'm talking about the development of one of the up and coming and maybe the face of the NBA. Who knows? With Victor Wembanyama. Obviously having Chris Paul there, it's got to help him mature and grow as a player on the court. So, and I think there it is. That's like Greg Popovich right there. Yeah. So obviously you're in agreement.
I think. Chris Paul at this point, if you can get him, you're going to get him for a value because he's old, but he's from a mechanics standpoint, one of the purest people in that position. and he can run it perfect
Yep.
at any level, right? So you put him there, and you know the kind of guy he is in general. You know what I mean? He's a player. He's just like a cool, nice guy. You let him just get with this kid and just start to just coach him, you know, from that player standpoint.
Yep.
He can understand how his role fits in, you know, with somebody of that caliber and with somebody, because that's going to be the whole thing. I think this move is all about, you know, the development of Wembanyama. Like if
Exactly.
they may not say that out loud, but that's the whole point of this.
Right. That's exactly.
You know, this is like a 5-year plan. Like, Chris, like, we can give you a home. Like, you got to go somewhere. You're not ready to retire.
We'll pay you.
It's what we need from you. Like,
I'll
guide this young man in the right direction. You know, and I think Chris Paul's an excellent guy to do. Like, he's not the kind of guy who takes away from any team. He could go in the league. He's just like, hey, how do I fit in? What do you need from me? Okay, here it is.
Yep.
Anywhere, you know, as long as Chris wants to play, someone will give him a job.
Yeah, I totally echo those sentiments. Now another team in the West that I kind of feel like maybe they're done, not done, but the Clippers. Now you lose Paul George, and I mean you got Porter Jr. I mean you signed him, who I thought in Cleveland. You know what I'm saying? I think he's a talent, but he's no, you know what I'm saying, Paul George. So what are the Clippers? Do you think that? I mean, they're getting a brand new arena, looks like a dome, looks beautiful. I spent a lot of money. They have a eccentric owner, Steve Ballmer. But what do they do for long? I mean, are they just going to tread water and hopefully try to land a free agent in the next year or two? Or what do they do? Because it's like, you know, I mean, they're kind of like, they're old with what they had, and now you got rid of Paul George. Well, they didn't get rid of him, but he lost them. What do you do?
The next 2 seasons, they have to go into a rebuild.
Yeah.
Don't really have a choice anymore, you know? Like, so listen, Harden is not trying to win a championship.
No, he's just getting paid.
Beach, who is going home, okay? Retirement plan. He just wanted to go back to the West. He's in school. He's going to sign the contract. He's sticking around.
Yep.
Kawhi, Kawhi's not Kawhi from the Raptors. He can't alone. You know, period. He just can't. And you have to worry about injury. George was like that was like what solidified that core. And he's gone, you know. I think that from when you look at it from like a marketing standpoint, you know, you see how they've been slightly rebranding, looking at different jersey ideas.
Oh yeah, I saw they're going to sell merchandise. It just, unfortunately, the players that are wearing those jerseys aren't exactly the same Clippers that they've been running out the past couple of years.
I think that's the hope, is basically to get into the rebuild as the new stadium's opening, come out with the whole new Clippers brand, the whole new Clippers team, a bunch of young guys we don't even know about yet.
Yep.
I mean, and I think that's going to be the ultimate route, you know. For right now, you got to keep these guys around to sell some jerseys, you know, to fill the seats. People still go to watch Harden play, you know.
Fools. You guys are fools.
Why? But they do.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, listen, that part of the West, like LA, is just, I mean, it's a mess. You know, I mean, like you have to like look at what just happened, you know, with the Lakers. I mean, to get this guy to get a 40-year-old man to take a player option, you signed a player who you're basically never going to be able to put on the court.
Yeah.
But you're going to have to at some point. You know, like where do the Lakers look no better? You know what I mean? Shambles.
Are you buying JJ Redick and saying that it was hard work that got Bronny James to the NBA? Or do you think maybe his last name James and his father being LeBron had a lot more to do with that hard work that JJ Redick is speaking of?
Listen, let's just talk about the fact that you could go on YouTube right now and watch JJ and LeBron do exactly what me and you were doing on another podcast.
That's true.
Okay?
That's true.
Podcast partner and his son to his team, and he's not the GM. I mean, different. It's different, you know. Like, I mean, but this is our society now. So, you know, it's just roll with the punches and see where I'm a New York fan, so I'm okay with it. I like all this.
Yeah, no, I look at it this way. I love sports, but it is entertainment. I know a lot of us, take it a little bit more seriously than maybe we should, but at the same time, it's like entertainment. I know I love the WWE. I like look at boxing. I mean, a lot of it is more show than actually. If you look at boxing, I mean, for the number of fights that they don't have, it's the pre-hype, it's the shit talking, it's everything else that besides the actual boxing. That's what makes the sport great. And I think that about these sports leagues, whether it be the NBA and NFL as well, a lot of more off season than in season. And the Bronny James thing is more of the TMZ drama to it.
All drama. And listen, man, at the end of the day, let's hope. I mean, he's LeBron's son, right? Which means that there's a very real chance that with enough coaching and he did enough, he becomes, maybe not the next LeBron James, but he just becomes a solid NBA years to come. And that's awesome.
Yep.
I wish this kid absolutely the best, because that's big shoes to fill. He's going to be on the court with his father, LeBron James, in less than a year. That's no joke.
It always harkens me back to this. I always say this about life. Sometimes obviously, your dad's LeBron James. He was born into it. So, is that harder to do what he's doing than it is a kid that comes from, from poverty and then work his way up? Look, I think both situations are hard or whatever. It's the whole Bill Clinton came from poverty, became president, and then you got George W. Bush, who was obviously his dad. So it's the same kind of scenarios that we're talking about here. Both are equally hard. And I just think that, but unfortunately in the media world that we live in now, especially with X and 24, you're going to hear it no matter what. You're never going to please everybody, and the ones you don't please, they're going to be very loud in their opposition of you.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I mean, and listen, you were touching on the boxing thing, right? This kid Ryan Garcia,
we're going to get into that. We're going to get into that.
That's the biggest thing this year in boxing. He's had multiple reputable people and companies come out with testing that it was tainted supplements. Yeah. And the company who provided the supplement came back with a lawsuit saying, we tested the entire batch and there's nothing. Right. And so there's just drama because every side's they all have official people with official tests saying this, that, and the third. Right. But when they go, there's the difference though, because of boxing, the way that every boxing, they get suspended. They have to sit in front of basically an appeal board.
Yeah. A panel of exactly.
Yeah. It's like going to court,
Yeah.
And so the thing is in boxing though, is that you're guilty until proven innocent.
That's why, but I think a lot of people, just like anything, I think people look at boxing and just like they look at the Olympics. Okay. So if somebody fails a test in the Olympics, like Butch Reynolds did, and a lot of athletes have, and same with boxing, I don't think people hold that against the athlete as much because they know the sport is a little bit on the shady side when it comes to the players involved. So I think in Garcia's case, whether or not you think he's innocent or guilty, I think a lot of people presume, look, they saw the fight, he kicked his ass. I mean, let's be real. He whooped them. So, and they think to themselves, okay, well, even if he did, I don't know how much that plays in a factor. To your point, I don't think he is guilty of anything. I think there's people that don't want to see him succeed for other reasons besides of boxing. I think that has to do with it. And it's just sad that he's caught up in it. But I will say one thing for Mr. Garcia, he's going to capitalize it one way or the other. And then good for him for doing so.
And so that's one of the biggest things. I mean, as you know, boxing is my sport. I love it to death.
But we're going to boxing. Ring the bell. We're going to boxing. Let's go to boxing.
It's a lot of people. You hear the comments, and I've been hearing them since UFC got big almost 20 years ago. UFC, boxing's dead. Boxing's
right.
But then you see these guys going out there and selling 1 million pay-per-view, getting paid $10 million for one fight, and it's like, okay, this is obviously definitely not a dead sport, right. but it's a tough sport to be in. It's been tainted since I was a little kid. I grew up boxing. It's always been that way. Changes, there's people that want to do it, and there's one man probably in the entire world with the capital to do it. Turkey Ali, the Saudi.
Yes. Yep.
So this man, he's trying to bring all the governing bodies into one fight league essentially,
Mhm.
right? But I guess the problem is, right, when you have individual promotion companies, everyone's like, well, how did we get our stake in this?
Right.
And so this guy is literally trying to buy them all out.
I think he could too, probably.
There's an offer on the table for Golden Boy currently, for Top Rank, and for Matchroom, which means probably Queensberry, and that's like the top 4 biggest in the world.
Yep.
The largest fighters in the top 10 pound for pound and individual weight class are all on those, nothing's gone forward with it yet, but it would do something to maybe clean up the sport a little bit. It's tough because let's just say Ryan absolutely did nothing wrong and he just hired some coach
Yep.
who, you know what, like, give him my secret sauce.
Right, exactly.
They really do that. Like, it happens
Right.
all the time. You know what I mean? And so it's unfortunate. His name will be tied to it, but it's just how you choose to handle it from there. Like, I think he's definitely capitalizing on it from like a social standpoint.
And he rightfully so. I think that's the best way to go. You might as well be on the offensive because the people are going to come after you anyways.
Exactly. And so, like, you got to do a certain, like, and he's doing a good job of it. But then at a certain point, you got to slow down and mitigate. You're about to go into your whole appeal process. Listen, Canelo, the face of boxing, signed a $300 million, the kind of contract an NFL quarterback signs. This guy signed a deal like that after testing positive for clenbuterol.
Right. So there's life after this.
Exactly. It's there. It's how you respond afterwards, right?
Right.
Everyone knows people make mistakes or things happen. Just listen, it's done. It happened. Like, we don't know how it happened exactly. Stop trying to get to the truth. You're not going to get to the truth.
Right. You're never going to get exactly. That's a great point.
That's too many parties with too much at stake for the truth to come out.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, also, too, I think his next fight, whenever that is, he's going to have to come out and show the tenacity that he did so people can say, hey, look, it wasn't because of some kind of, stimulant or steroid that he had in him. This is who he is now because, look, the Ryan Garcia that we saw last fight, and I know there was a lot of shit talking. It was probably his biggest fight ever, obviously. I mean, that was a different animal right there. And that's the kind of Ryan Garcia that I think all boxing fans have been hoping to see. And then when this comes out afterwards that he was technically not clean, it's just like, okay, we've seen this before, and hopefully, like I said, he goes and wins his next fight in the same fashion that he did. I think he could put that all to bed.
And that's exactly the thing. I mean, everyone in the world saw the current champion just keep getting hit with the same left hook. Like, you made no adjustments in a 12-round champion.
No, that was so ridiculous
at all, and now you want to blame it on something else. Like,
oh yeah.
I understand. I get it. I do. Of course, it's better for him to not have the loss, whatever else.
Right. Yeah. We'll talk about Devin Haney, obviously. Yeah.
But like, everyone saw the fight. If you watch the fight.
That's the thing. We can't unsee it now. We can't.
Yeah. I saw you have no defense for 12 rounds. Like, I might have beat you on that given night. I might have won that fight.
All you got to do is just show offense. Just keep hitting.
And, it's unfortunate, though. It really is. Because, listen, the way that – and so I'm from New York. I was licensed boxing in New York as a kid. Young man. Okay. But New York will have – like Ryan will have a year suspension. And he's going to go to court. He'll probably go to court maybe like the middle of this month or early August. They will do it this summer, most likely. But as of right now, he's going to face a year suspension. And, like – that's almost never going to get overturned by New York. The way that the New York athletic division works, he'll just have to face that. Use this year to capitalize. UFC has already put some stuff.
I saw that he had put out a post that he wants to go there. Good for him.
And what about, you brought up WWE? They've been
I would make an appearance. Why not?
Like, Ryan would be an absolute star with Logan Paul.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, so, I mean, he's got options. I expect to see him use one of those in the next 12 months and then make like his glorious return to boxing. And hopefully he'll have like grown a little bit more measured to not react as fast as he does, because he reacts.
He does.
Socials, that just comes with growth. You know what I mean? So I like Ryan a lot, and I'd love to see him do well.
Yeah. Well, I think anybody that's as flamboyant as him and as dominant as he was in his last fight, it's only great for the sport. I love boxing. You know what, you had posted something earlier today with Hagler and Hearns, I believe. Two of the greatest champions, right? They're one of the greatest fights of all time. If you know what I'm saying, there's things that I think as a sports fan, you know, we talk about the NBA, we talk about NFL, that, you know, great games, great players and everything like that. But I think to be an all encompassing of all sports, you should know about, you know, boxing and things like that. You should know about the greats, Hagler, Hearns, and, you know, even going back before them, Ali, Frazier, and all them. I think that's what makes America great. They're the fabric of our sporting identity, and so I'm glad there's people out there like yourself that keep that alive.
Listen, I think anyone who's really, really well-rounded and into sports, you know, I try and know as much as I can about what's going on in tennis, you know, at least games in golf, and any car driver out there, right? I mean, this is what we do. This is what we talk about. I got to know our stuff. For sure.
Well, that's the thing also as well. Like, I always feel like this, you know, whether you're watching, like, you know, the PGA golf every Sunday religiously or not, you know, if there's, you know, a major going on, you should know who wins it. You should know who's in contention, who's in the hunt. Same with NASCAR. You should know the top 5 drivers. You know, it's just like anything. You know, I always say this even with the kids. You should know what the top hip hop song is, whether you like it or not. You should know what the kids are listening to in the club. You should know what kids' songs. You should know what's going on. I think to be a well-rounded individual, I think that's what makes, you know, this country great, and to have people like that. So
I fully agree, Ed.
I mean, so, but no, like I said, now a couple more boxing questions, because, you know, I'm talking with boxing expert Vince here right now, because like I said, you know, pound for pound right now, is Davis the best fighter? Gervonta, is he the best? Because I don't know. Like, sometimes I see these boxers, and, you know, the sensation, and, you know, they're quick to be crowned best pound for pound, or, you know, they, you know what I'm saying, or they're unblemished with their record. Look at Haney up until, you know, Garcia. He could have had a claim for it as well. But who do you think legitimately is the best pound for pound right now?
The top 5 pound for pound fighters in the world, in no specific order, but I'll say my 1 and 2 are Alexander Usyk, the heavyweight champ of the world. He really is that good. Watch him. I've watched him fight too many times. We don't see it now. So people don't realize what they see. Social media takes away the way that we can instantly interact. It takes away from how special some of our big events are now, in boxing and football and baseball and all of it.
Okay.
That fight between him and Tyson Fury, in 50 years, that'll be called one of the classic heavyweight fights of all time.
Wow.
Great fight. Like, incredible.
Well, Tyson, the reason I'm surprised by you bringing him up is because, according to Tyson Fury, like, he said that was an easy fight, and if it wasn't for him just kind of taking it too unserious, then he would have won it. You don't buy that, do you? You don't buy that.
Fury came in that fight in the best shape of his life. He weighed less than he ever has, which means he was working out harder than he ever has.
Yeah, that's true.
Always an excuse. He got outlanded. You know, I don't know how he didn't fall down in the 8th, but you know what?
I know.
Great. Then the other guy who's just been like a savage for the last 4 or 5 years, especially, Naoya Inoue from.
Oh, okay.
He's like 126 pounds, and if he lands, it's over. Anyone he hits the canvas. Like, he just and his last fight, a Mexican fighter, Luis Neri, who was a champion, actually was in Japan. Mm-hmm. Neri was no longer allowed. He hurt the Japanese, like, grand champion so badly that, like, Japan was like, get him out of our country.
Wow. Jeez.
When they saw the opportunity to let him get in the ring, because they knew what they assumed would happen against this guy, they stated his boxing license in Japan just for the fight. In the 5th round, he dropped Inoue. Inoue came back in the 6th and slaughtered him.
Oh, jeez.
And like, that's really fights. He, you know, every fight he fights to eliminate his opponent. There is no fights, carries fighters to the 12th round that he can
right.
Doesn't care, but he's still top 5 because he's Canelo. Because nobody between 154 and 200 pounds could knock him down. Literally nobody.
Okay.
He's never taken a knee in a fight.
Wow.
So you can't take him out of the top 5. It's just, and he's
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair.
This past weekend, probably a future number 1 pound for pound returned to the ring. Young kid, he's 24 years old. His name is Jesse Rodriguez. They know him simply as Bam. And he was recently named by a couple of tight boxing's kind of like classic writers. They've renamed him the Legend Slayer. So he fights, he fights guys like he just fought this guy Estrada, El Gallo Estrada, who was champion. The body shot that the way that this guy curled up to the ground.
I saw that on the
This kid's 24. He's already got 4 of the best pound for pound fighters in those divisions all time on his belt, and that was his first fight in 574 days. Wow. So no ring rust, no
Yeah, Deshaun Watson, they always claim that the rust. You get these boxers come in, hey, they don't got time for rust. I got live bullets coming at me. So
and that's a fact. And so that's that. He's the up and coming guy. He'll be, for sure. But yeah, and then in that group of 5 is Tank Davis.
Okay, Javon, Tank Davis, yeah.
He can be, depending on who you talk to, number 1, number 2, number 3. It's fair any way you go about it, really. But has been he went the Floyd Mayweather route to start. He was a part of that camp, and so they do a lot of cherry picking.
Yeah, they do. They do.
At defeated 0.
Yeah.
And fighters don't care about a loss; they care about coming back and getting their belt back.
Yeah.
So he's there. If to the Latino community, to the Latino and white community, the face of boxing is Canelo.
Yeah.
Black community, to the African American community, it is Tank Davis.
Tank Davis, I would agree with that. Yep.
He's that guy, and his knockouts are.
Is there a great white hope out there that's an American? That's an American. I said American.
So there, there's a kid from he might be from New Jersey or Brooklyn, but he's good. He's real good, solid. His name is Vito Melnecki.
Okay, that sounds like he's gonna do some damage to something.
Yeah. He's a premier boxing champions fighter. That's the promotion he's under the banner. But he's a good fighter. I'd look out for him, and definitely I'll make sure to tag you the next time he's fighting.
Okay.
My poster's out for sure. Yeah, but he's a good one. I like him a lot.
Because we had I remember Kelly Pavlik from Youngstown, Ohio. He was something, what I'm saying. But there's not too many, that are American Caucasian fighters that have been lately that have kind of changed the game. And so I'm just
so it's kind of weird, but I'm gonna give you the dynamic to why that actually is. Right?
Yeah, go ahead.
America is very big on wrestling. Okay, America wrestling like state champion,
Yes.
It's very big. Yeah. And MMA has blown up at the same time. So a lot of middle American folks that would have gone that boxing route was wrestling in middle school and high school, and they went towards MMA.
Okay.
So talent pool has actually been thinned out in that. Okay. And that's why you see a lot of those badass, D1 legendary, never lost a match wrestlers, like
the Kurt Angles of the world, basically, and people like that, per se.
No, have the option. It used to be there was only WWE, so you literally had to be like the Kurt Angle. You had to be the All American. You had to be everything. At that point. If you weren't like the Good Showman. But now there are 30 different mixed martial art promotions besides UFC, and UFC low key funds 10 of them. So, the mindset is, let me just get into one of those and I might make it to UFC one day. that's why their stable's so big at all times.
Okay, that makes sense. Like I said, I watch movies that I love Rocky movies and stuff like that. And you know what I'm saying? Look, as a white guy, let's be real. Any white guy that watched a Rocky movie, your testosterone levels go to the roof, and that's okay. I always say this. It's okay to identify with who you are and what I'm saying, your culture and everything like that. And and I love the fight game, and it's just like I said, it's just been pretty barren when it comes to that.
With that being said, I want to go ahead and shout out Alberto Puello. He's a Dominican fighter. I'm a Dominican myself.
Oh, nice. Okay.
With Devin Haney just vacating his belt at 140 pounds, he was moved from interim champion to the full champion of that belt. So he is now the 140-pound champion. Devin Haney is the champion in recess, as it's called. Essentially, he could come back within a 90-day time frame. Most likely will not. But shout out to my Dominican brother for that. I do love to see that, man. And we've been making a little bit of a comeback in boxing recently. So you'll see a lot of Dominican guys on cards.
What was Tito Trinidad? Was he Puerto Rican or Dominican?
Puerto Rican. All the Puerto Rico is like some water. I don't know, but
okay. Because I'll be honest with you, two of my favorite boxers of all time, Sweet Pea Pernell Whitaker. Because he reminded me of Kenny Lofton for some reason. Maybe because he's left-handed. Kenny Lofton, that's Sweet Pea. But Bernard, the Executioner Hopkins, because he took down Tito Trinidad, was the first one to take down Tito Trinidad. So I got to give shout out to the Philadelphia's pride, and what I'm saying when it comes to the
bad man, and he fought until I don't know what age he retired, but he fought way past prime.
Oh, he did that one, his last match or whatever. Oh my, he went through the ring or whatever. It wasn't good. It wasn't good.
But yeah, he was a different thing. But no, Puerto Rico is definitely that place. Growing up, my boxing coach, who was like my second father, was actually from Argentina, but trained with all Mexicans. So that was our boxing style. But Hector Macho Camacho.
Hector, okay, yes.
Macho, he was like my family friend, so he was like an uncle growing up to me. And I've got pictures with Miguel Cotto and all these guys.
Oh wow, Cotto, yeah.
A lot. So I've got some new stuff coming up. I've been spending a lot of time with the former lineal heavyweight champ Hasim Rahman, Rock.
Yeah, yes, he fought Lennox Lewis.
Yeah, and so exactly. He's the guy who beat Lewis. He's training the late Chico Diego Corrales' son, Diego Jr. Remember Diego?
Yes.
And that crazy fight.
Yes.
His son is only 16. I just did an interview with him and his mom. It's going to be coming out on the website next week.
Okay.
And I'm going to be staying in tune with them now. Like, we work out. We do weight training in one gym. I'm going to be starting to go to the boxing gym and spending time with them. I told him I'm going to follow his. I'd really love to see where he goes because, the goal for him is pro. And I mean, he's Diego's son. So.
Wow. Well, I always say this about boxing. They always talk about UFC compared to boxing. You give me just I'd say middle of the road boxer. They would destroy a UFC. Now, obviously, don't take it to the ground. But if you keep two people upright, a UFC guy versus just an average boxer, that boxer is going to win 10 out of 10 times. The precision they have and how quick they are. I think people underestimate the sport of boxing because, they watch two boxing and they think, oh, it's boring. It's boring. They don't understand that it's just like, getting hit with one of those shots because they're so precise in their power. It's so different than UFC. You can be sloppy in the UFC and get away with it. And boxing, you can't get away with being sloppy in boxing.
That sloppy punch gets you knocked out.
Gets you knocked the fuck out.
They sent Big Bad Wolf, Francis Ngannou, to boxing.
Oh, I remember.
They thought that everything was going to change. And then he met Anthony Joshua, and he got lowered.
Yeah.
That should be your answer. And anyone who watches boxing, like I saw Anthony testing the range on that same punch. And I was like, this is about to be crazy. I didn't think it was going to be that. I thought that I just assumed Ngannou's chin was stronger than that.
Right.
But he crumbled. He lost. His knees got weak and everything. Do
you think when it comes to boxing, like Is there a technique like, and it just seems like when a boxer punches compared to a UFC, they just have that extra. It's like a shortstop in the Major League Baseball, how they flip it over to first base. There's just something with their arm that it's just got that natural. And it seems like with a boxer, how they punch and pull back. There's something different than UFC. Then I don't think unless you're a trained boxer, you'll never have that.
No, I agree with you. The way that boxers throw punches is not the same as anyone else.
Right.
I agree with that. And that's a great analogy. I mean, how many times growing up do you watch some outfielder and you're like, that guy's got a rocket, center field to home plate.
Yep.
You just can't, your mechanics are not the same.
Right.
Find that same mechanics. You could be the strongest, quickest, and everything else.
Right. It's not the strength. It's the technique. It's just the way they throw that.
Mechanics of what you're doing and how there's something about that. And you see that in a really skilled guy like that. And that's what okay, like even like a guy like Usyk, the reason why that happened the way it did, because if you watch, he doesn't get hit, but he moves forward the whole time. He moves forward like this the whole time, and he's just sliding punches. But he stays putting pressure in your face, and he knows how to punch from that. Where like Joshua doesn't punch that way.
No, he's no.
Sits there and just measures his line. Let him start pulling. If he starts doing that little pulling movement, you can't let him get a range, because a guy you see with that guy's upper body, it's like Ray Lewis punching you in the face.
Yes, and then he's coming exactly.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't care how tough you are. Like, if you get hit flush in the jaw by a guy that's like Ray Lewis' side, especially if they have the mechanics to
mechanics. I'm glad you said that. That's the key word, mechanics.
Yeah, all about how to throw a punch.
Oh wow,
that's why I'm a bad man.
Well, that's right. Well, we had Cameron on for a minute. I'm gonna go to our ads real quick and then do my break-ed news, and then we'll get in with Cameron. But Vince, have you ever needed an energy drink that you can mix at home that doesn't give you the jitters or make you crash? If so, then try Dubby. Their products have no calories, no sugar, no maltodextrin, no fillers, and no artificial colors. Dubby has great flavors such as Dragonade, Galaxy Grenade, Beach and Peach, and Dub Sludge. So head on over to w.gg, use the coupon code We Like Sportz and get 10% off your order. Also, the Snooze You Lose podcast. Don't forget to check out the Snooze You Lose podcast with Uncle Joe the Black Boogie. He'll get you set with his Sunday Snooze You Lose pick of the week. So who doesn't want to add more coin to their man purse? He's been hot in 2024. So check that out on We Like Sportz. And also, I always like to say this, Vince, pat yourself on the back. We Like Sportz PC.com. Great articles coming out every day. We're talking, I will say this, a lot of New York flavor to that. And I love the fireworks, 4th of July coming up. I like what you did right there. But we like sportspc.com. Check us out. Great writers who cover the nation with a array of articles on different sports, including boxing and fighting, which I happen to love as well. So, there, we paid the bills, but this is one of my favorite segments. It's not exactly news per se, but if you could just snicker after one of these 3 ones, it makes me feel better. And I'm kind of a diva, so we'll kick it off here. This is Eddie Columbus with your We Like Sportz breaking news. The U.S. men's soccer team failed to get out of the group stage in the Copa America tournament. When asked why the poor showing, there was lots of incoherent rambling, but little debate, as they all said they had colds, but that did not stop them from going to the Waffle House after the match. The Los Angeles Lakers drafted Bronny James, and when asked who his least favorite teammate might be, Bronny said, LeBron, he's a motherfucker. And finally, Brown's beloved mascot, SJ, Swagger Jr., passed away today. They say all dogs go to heaven, so that guarantees SJ will never see Deshaun Watson again. And this is an Columbus with it. We Like Sportz breaking news.
There you go.
I love doing that. Like I said, it gives me a chance to riff on things. And, we all like to have fun. And that's the thing about sports. And I'll say this. Look, I'm a Cleveland Browns fan, and the whole Deshaun Watson thing, if you can't laugh about that, or because I know some people on X, you say one bad thing about Deshaun, they take it personally. Look, I'm not his family member. I'm sure Deshaun's got 230 million reasons why he doesn't have to give a fuck, and he doesn't. As long as he goes out and wins football games. If you want morals on Sunday, go to church. This isn't national football. Same with boxing. Look, it doesn't really matter. You're there for the entertainment. You're there for the fun. I don't really care what they do in their free time. I mean, hopefully they're, doing the right things. But if not, I'm not going to hold it against them. Look, I love Mike Tyson. I'll say this about boxing. Look, I was a big Mike Tyson fan. I always have been a big Mike Tyson fan. And I think Mike Tyson has shown after boxing, if you just listen to him speak and talk, what a great guy this is. This is the thing. Like, people look at Mike Tyson and think, oh, he was just this monster and this and that and the other thing. These boxers, when they get down with boxing, a lot of them, they are some really intelligent individuals. They can offer a lot to society. Look at Muhammad Ali and what he did. I mean, I think people have the wrong perception of boxers, and that bothers me. And Vince, I know you got something to say about that.
Listen, it's this simple, and I'll leave you with that. It doesn't even have to just be about sports.
Right.
Tyson has been an exemplary man.
Yes.
He has shown us that you can make mistakes as a young man, get it back together, and thrive as an older grown man.
Exactly, right.
To society every day. He does not take away. He only adds to it. People see him, they smile, and they take nothing but good energy from the guy. I love Iron Mike, man. He's one of my favorites for sure.
Now I got to mention Burt Sugar. Shout out to you. I love that. There's just so many people in boxing that are just icons that I think people, throughout the boxing profession, they know. But like I said, I'd love to just say their names. And if somebody out there listening, if I say Burt Sugar and it gives you a reaction like, oh, I remember that guy. You know what I'm saying? That's what we try to do here, because sports is real. And I always try to give emotions that way.
That was the guy, Burt Sugar.
Like, Sugar was the guy.
Well, say it for he was like, he was like the Dick Vitale of boxing.
Exactly. He was such a treasure. I look forward to yes.
To boxing fans, that guy was a national treasure. That's the best way you could say it. I used to love watching him. And
Larry Merchant, I liked with Lampley doing the fights.
Lampley, Merchant, and then boy at the time, Max Kellerman.
Yep.
For sure.
So like I said, there's so many aspects about boxing. It's not just like, and I always say this, you watch the NBA, who the people are going to be, the announcers are going to be, we got Tom Brady coming in this year, but obviously Romo and Nance and all that. But like everything about that, like the media part about sports to me is always intriguing. Like, look, for the Browns, for instance, we had Nev Chandler, then we had Casey Coleman. Now we got, what I'm saying, the game announcers on the radio. And I love that, and it's like, I think that's just a part of the game. And it's just like, I think that people need to, embrace that as well, because like I said, it's gone so quickly. And as I get older, it's like those voices and, that you don't listen to anymore, they become ghosts. And Jim Donovan is our current, if I don't get that out, and it's one of the best in the game. I'm sure you listen to Raiders games or Giants games and you have your people too.
Think about, and this is a show that just got canceled, or I think this is going Inside NBA. People watching Inside NBA, those guys are hilarious together. It's a great show. That's suddenly just not going to be there. I think like boxing's kind of an interesting one with that, because it has each promotion has like their set guys, in, but then what they do to kind of spice it up is at each fight, they bring in like a guest boxer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that always makes it interesting, because you kind of get to see where the boxers' heads are at. Some of these guys are just, total tomato cans, and some of these guys show up and they're like extremely well-versed, and it's like, this guy's an analyst one day, and you love to see that.
Yeah. Has there been a boxer that you've seen throughout that, like you said, comes on a show or a fight, and you're like, man, I thought he was the biggest, tomato can, but comes and like just really impressed you, like, whoa, I wasn't expecting this. Is there anybody that comes to mind?
Well, it's not. I wouldn't say that they were like that, like they were bad boxers,
right?
But there were fighters that I was never like a huge guy on. There was, like a Paulie Malignaggi.
Mm-hmm.
But people love to watch Paulie talk about boxing.
Okay,
he's like a Brooklyn Italian guy.
Okay, hey,
The boxing thing, he didn't do much for me, but his personality, fabulous, and I love to watch the guy talk about boxing. Him, and then Chris Algieri.
Okay. Chris. Okay.
Yeah, he was like mid-level, but Chris is a great. Him and a guy named Dan Canobio, they do a show. Okay. They're actually two of the announcers for pay-per-view now, and then they do their own podcast as well. And that show is awesome. There's probably at least, like, if you look on my X boxing post today, there's one on there with Chris Algieri talking. Like I'm a big fan. He's very good to watch talk the sport. He never did anything for me watching him fight.
Now I have to go here because look, I'm all about the entertainment, but I want your thoughts on this. What do you feel about the Jake Paul people and what he's doing for boxing? Because I'm going to say it is boxing. Some people want to argue and say it's not, but it's a different form of it. What are your thoughts? I think any eyes on boxing or fighting in that sport in general is good in general, but I can see the detractors having their points as well. I just wanted to get your take on that.
Jake Paul is like King Midas.
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, if you have an issue with somebody like that being involved with what you're doing, you're not paying attention to what's going on in the world.
Yep.
You know, like to think that this guy does anything besides add value to the sport is complete mind blowing.
I'm glad you say that.
Brilliant marketing tool that boxing's seen in the last 50 years. Period.
Wow.
No other way you can say it. Because whether people are talking about the bullshit part of it, the realistic part of it, they're talking about it.
Exactly. That's what I said.
Right. And then you have the people who are like, this guy's not even a real boxer. And then they're like, they try and think of one. They don't know it. They go online. And then
yeah, exactly. Right.
There's nothing that this guy is doing but adding to it. Now, with that being said, if he's like, if he just wants to continue in his lane and just like go cherry pick some old guy, some cool, that's fun. If you're talk about like he's talking about a championship run in a year or two, if you're serious about that, that's awesome. You know, let's get you ranked. Let's get you in there with ranked WB.
I don't think it's gonna turn out too good.
Top 20 boxers in here, and let's bring you the smoke. You know, and so like it's either way, I'm happy with it. I'm gonna continue to watch all his fights. You know, and here's what he's done now. Amanda Serrano, she's one of the goats of female boxing. Mm-hmm. Her and the Shields are probably the two best to have ever done it. He's put an eye on that on female boxing that wasn't there. He's given her a different platform. And so what he does is that in addition to his fight, he puts her in like a championship bout on the card. And then he fills the card in now with real fights. So these are like WBC fights. So the undercard is all real fights. And so I enjoy that, and then I get a little circus at the end. Phenomenal, I think that if you're really into boxing and you don't see the value in this kid, then you're probably not like a good businessman outside of sports,
Wow. We're gonna do something real quick. I do this every week. And this is going to be a little different how we go about this, but you'll see.
In 2024 and beyond, don't forget to tune in to...
So we're going to have the great debate. Oh, yeah.
The We Like Sportz Show presents to you the Great Debate.
One of the segments that I introduced, obviously it's an election year, 2024, but we're going to do a little differently this today. What we're going to do is I'm going to throw out this question, and there's no right or wrong answer. You got a minute and a half to kind of articulate your choice here.
Okay.
Who's the best boxer of all time? And you can take it any angle you want. You can do influential, record-wise. Who is the best boxer in sports history?
So I think I
know it's tough.
I'm going to give you a two-part answer.
Okay.
Historically in boxing, the eye has been on. Sorry, you might hear my.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine.
No worries. That's my daughter Sophina. She's going to be a Giants and a Raiders fan, just like her daddy.
Go Browns.
In any case, so there's like from a purely technical standpoint, I don't know. I mean, I love these. I love like the Sugar Ray Leonards of the world. I think he's his technical skills were crazy. Then you have the obvious answers, the Sugar Ray Robinson or the Muhammad Ali. But because boxing has traditionally been more focused, I think, on the heavyweight than anything else.
Yeah,
you have to go with Ali, right, or Joe Louis.
Okay.
Okay, you know what? Joe Louis is the boxer. Ali is the most influential.
Okay, no, that's great. That's great.
That's
And obviously, what Ali did with civil rights and what he did, back in the day, and with the draft and Vietnam draft, it was more than just boxing. So influential. Yeah, can't argue that one.
Yeah, I mean, he was just in. I love Ali just like the next man. I think he's one of the greatest ever. My favorites though are probably in the lower weight classes. I love like the lightweight, welterweight.
You a Hagler or Hearns person? Or both, just because it's like peanut butter and jelly sometimes, It's like
marvelous Marvin Hagler for sure. He's like, for me, it's Marvin, Sugar Ray, and then Hearns in order of appearance. Okay. That's actually, to me, that's the right order. But again, it's just like, they're all great. They were all great to me at some point. Everyone was my favorite once.
Well, I'm going to go with this answer, and this is an unconventional answer, and it's technically not even a real boxer. I'm going to go with Rocky Balboa, and here's why. What the Rocky franchise did, and credit to Sylvester Stallone back in the 70s. People think of him just an actor. What a great screenwriter he was. He wrote all those Rocky movies. He wrote them himself. I mean, we're not talking about, you're talking about, hey, you know what I'm saying? I mean, we're talking about a guy like Sylvester Stallone, and what a great talent he was. But speaking of Rocky Balboa and what he did, growing up, obviously boxing is not like a team sport like the NFL and Major League Baseball and other sports. It's more individual. So growing up as a young kid, it's unless your dad, I grew up in the 80s, born 1980. So unless your dad was paying the pay-per-views and things like that, and a lot of these fights, they're always 5 years after they should be anyways. Watching those Rocky movies is what got people hooked into boxing. And then you had that media age. And then obviously Mike Tyson would kind of go into that route, because for me, Mike Tyson was kind of like that Michael Jordan of basketball. And you can argue, is he the greatest? Is LeBron the greatest? But it's when people come into, time, the media age, this or that, obviously when it comes to civil rights, and you have Jackie Robinson and Larry Doby, they came at the right time. They were the right people at the right time. Mike Tyson and Rocky Balboa were the right people at the right time to elevate the sport. And I just feel like movies cannot never be underestimated when it comes to getting a fan base to fall in love with a sport. You look at baseball movies, you look at the football movie, people fall in love with these things, and it is part of the sport. And I'm a Cleveland Indians fan, Cleveland Guardians fan, watching Major League. I get the feels when I watch that. And I know Charlie Sheen is not exactly the greatest human on earth, but when he's Wild Thing and Tanaka and all that fun stuff, and that's part of the lexicon, part of the fun stuff. And I just feel like Rocky Balboa and what the Rocky franchise did for boxing, I think is can never be overstated. So that's my guy. I think Mike Tyson, when it comes into that new era, but obviously, when I'm not gonna lie, Muhammad Ali is the greatest of all time for not only what he did in the ring, but even though Rocky Marciano was, he inspired Rocky Balboa. So I mean, there's so many, Jack Johnson before then, so many greats of boxing that we didn't see with our eyes, that there's not even much film on, and that are legends. So I always feel like that's one of those questions. There's no right or wrong answer. It's kind of how you feel. That's what we like to do on the We Like Sportz show. It's about feelings, and sports is all about feelings and how you feel towards others, how you feel about your sport. And that's what makes it great. And there's no right or wrong answer.
And I think that's a great point. And it's just like, what was that fight for you? And like for me, the two fights, of the 90s for me were El Gran Campeón, the man himself, Cesar Chavez, the Golden Boy, Oscar De La Hoya, and then Tyson versus Holyfield 1 and 2.
Yep.
That's like, those are the fights my brain goes to when I think of boxing in that time, and there were so many more fights. There was the early, so I'm 1983.
I'm 1980, so just throwing out that 1980.
90 or 76 and 77. And so it was exactly the same. My cousins were the ones in Queens who had the little black box, right? So we drive out there on Saturday for stay for the weekend. Like, only one person had the box for the fights, and it's so different now. Now every weekend there are 20 different streams of boxing and mixed martial arts, pay-per-view, this and that. I'm like, Matt, how do we afford this now? Like,
Right. I know that. Well, you know what I feel about boxing. What's great about boxing is obviously you brought up the Tyson Holyfield, and I'll never forget this. I'm a Caucasian, pretty much middle of America, white family, okay, and obviously with Tyson, he had come through those rape allegations, which I think were total bullshit, and I'll say that out loud. So we're watching the fight, and my mom was like, after the fight and after the disqualification and everything, I'll never forget this. My mom said, I don't blame Tyson. That Holyfield was elbowing him the whole time, using his height, and he was. And I'm not saying Tyson was justified in doing what he was doing, but my mom could see that Holyfield was clinching and doing the thing. You're bigger than Tyson, even though Holyfield was probably a middleweight. I mean, compared to Tyson, everybody's a heavyweight compared to Tyson with his size. But she could see those elbows and what he was doing, and she's like, he just had it, and she doesn't blame Mike Tyson. And for a white woman to say that in the middle of America and to be on Mike Tyson's side, that's the power of boxing right there. I think people underestimate that, and I'm glad we had you on the show. I'm glad that you are into boxing, because I think it's one of those things that I wish more people had that passion. And I think with some of the stars we have up and coming, hopefully it'll revitalize itself and come back.
Listen, you know what? I'll tell you this much. I've been to a lot of sporting events in my life. I've been to playoff games, Yankee playoff games during the late 90s, good sporting events.
Yep.
There's nothing like a championship boxing match at the MGM Grand or
you get me excited. I'm getting
wait, like this, the hair on your arm stands up when you walk into the building. It's like it's the
stars come out. It is the spectacle.
It's electric.
Yep.
You literally feel the electricity in the air. Like you walk in and it's like, what is that? What? Like you feel the static energy in the air. It's like, whoa, what's about to happen in here? It's just so different. If that's one thing I can encourage anyone who ever has a chance, go to one live boxing event and just see how you feel when you walk out.
Now my buddy went out there. I forget the boxer, the British boxer that was like a middleweight, maybe during like 2010, maybe. I forget what is Hatton. Was it Ricky Hatton?
Joe Calzaghe.
Okay.
Probably for those two.
And they had all the Brits there, and they were all chanting and everything. And it was a fun atmosphere. So like I said, that's one thing about boxing, because it is international too. You get that flavor, and that's always fun. And like I said, you talk about the great Mexican fighters, you talk about the Puerto Ricans, now the Dominicans, like you said, are making their way back. And I always think it's, there's something great about having that, heritage and that pride in it, because it's always that one thing when you're little and your dad says teaches you how to put up your dukes, what I'm saying, and that translates into every language, every culture, because I'm not saying to go fight somebody unnecessarily, but everybody's got to be able to defend themselves, and there's nothing better than watching boxing, and we can all kind of agree on that and kind of get their feels with that. And I love it. Like I said, when I knew you were a boxing guy, I'm like, I can speak forever about boxing, because you don't find too many people that are willing to talk about boxing, because they think it's a dead sport. Then they have no idea, and we're going to prove them wrong.
Listen, man, I've heard it for now half of my life. People told me it's a dead sport. No. And then there's another boxer getting paid 20, 30.
Exactly.
Somebody
where's that money coming from? For
1 hour. For 1 hour of your athletic performance, I'm going to pay you $30 million for a sport that's no longer valid.
Yeah.
I think it's
valid.
just,
I think it's pretty valid.
It's just where the media goes. The media sways this way or that way. Boxing is getting bigger right now because guys like ESPN, like us, are starting to talk about it again. Folks like Ryan Garcia all are making podcasts talk about boxing.
And then you got the Jake Pauls out there helping as well.
Yeah, I love it. It's fantastic.
Oh my God. But wow, this has really flown by. And like I said, we always like to do a segment on the show called Closing Time. And like I said, this is your, I'm not even going to give you a time limit. You've been such a great guy. You go on, you say whatever you want to say, whatever you want to plug, whatever you want to talk about. This is your time, my guy. There will be no bell until you decide, and no standing 10 or 8 count as well.
Well, listen, you know what? All I wanted to plug, I think that we've got a good audience here, and I know that some of you guys love to watch these guys on the podcast every week, and if you like what folks like myself have to say, you can also read about it. We Like Sportz, PC.com. We Like Sportz with a Z, PC.com. And we've got everything. We've got boxing, we've got WWE, we've got AEW. And then, of course, all of the regular sports, NBA, NHL, MLB, NFL. We might even have someone on there doing minor leagues if you're into it. So we've got it all covered. We might have some NASCAR if you're into it. And if you're watching and you're interested in potentially writing for your favorite sports team, find us online at We Like Sportz or at We Like Sports Show, SHO, or at We Like Sportz PC. You can find any of us there on X or Facebook. Rock and roll.
That's right. My guy. I couldn't have said it better myself. I don't really have nothing. I always say this. I hope my Guardians win. They got a series with the White Sox. I hope the Browns just stay out of trouble until the mini camp starts. You know what I'm saying, or the preseason. And Cavs, you're making moves now. Get Evan Mobley done now. We need to extend Evan Mobley. And
we didn't touch on that, and that's a good place to leave this conversation. That is an integral part of that being top 3 team.
Yes.
That is a piece that they need in that court. So he's huge. I like that you.
Well, like I said, anything that you have any concerns, comments, feel free to, let us know on X. And, we'll address it next show and everything like that. So you want to do that. And we had such a fun, like I said, Vince, you were a great guest. I don't even feel like you're a guest. I mean, you're part of the We Like Sportz family. I mean, like I said, it's just one of our own coming on to just talk like we're sitting in a bar. And it's been a great hour and 20 minutes. Wow. I can't believe it's been that. It seems like, like I said, we talk about fisticuffs and like I said, it flies by. Those rounds fly by pretty quickly. So thank you for coming on. I'm sure we'll be seeing more of you. And like I said, to everybody out there, enjoy your 4th of July. I don't care what they say. America's still the greatest country in the world. We're not a perfect country, but you know what? Hey, that's why we got people to try to make it better. And you can make it better yourself. So vote, bitch, and then try to do something to make it better.
Happy Independence Day, and God bless America.
Thank you. Couldn't have said it better myself. We like sports. We like you. Until next time. Peace.
Take care.